I didn't disappear all at once. That's the lie people like to believe, because it makes the story easier to digest. They imagine a single dramatic moment, a breakdown, a suitcase slammed shut, a door left open. The truth is much quieter. I disappeared slowly, piece by piece, over many years, while everyone around me kept saying I was doing fine. The first thing I lost was my voice. Not literally, of course. I still spoke, still answered questions, still participated in conversations. But I stopped saying what I actually thought. I learned early that honesty complicated things. It made people uncomfortable. It led to arguments, disappointment, long explanations I didn't have the energy for. So I simplified myself. I said what was expected. I agreed when I didn't agree. I smiled when I felt nothing. People praised me for being easy. I told myself that was maturity. The second thing I lost was time. Not in the obvious way. I didn't waste my days lying in bed or doing nothing. I was always busy. Productive. Responsible. My calendar was full, my obligations neatly stacked. But none of it felt like it belonged to me. Days passed quickly, weeks blurred together, years slipped by without leaving a mark. I remember looking back once and realizing I couldn't clearly recall the last 5 years of my life. That realization terrified me. So I ignored it. I built a life that looked stable from the outside. A job that paid the bills. Relationships that functioned well enough. Routines that made everything predictable. Predictability became my drug. As long as nothing changed, I didn't have to ask myself dangerous questions. I didn't have to confront the feeling that I was watching someone else live my life. At night, though, the questions came anyway. They came when the lights were off and there was no one to perform for. They came in the form of exhaustion that sleep didn't fix. In the form of a heaviness in my chest for no identifiable reason. In the form of envy, not of people with more money or success, but of people who seemed alive inside their own choices. I would lie there and think, is this really it? And then I would answer myself quickly, don't be ungrateful. Gratitude became my prison. I stayed in places too long. Jobs, conversations, relationships, versions of myself that had expired years earlier. I stayed because leaving would have required explanations, and explanations would have required honesty. And honesty would have forced me to admit something I wasn't ready to face, that I had been complicit in my own disappearance. No one forced this life on me. That truth hurt more than any external blame ever could. There was a moment, I remember it clearly now, when I realized how far gone I was. I was at a gathering, surrounded by people who knew me well, people who used my name freely, confidently, as if it truly belonged to me. Someone asked me a simple question. A harmless one. Are you happy? The room went quiet, waiting for the expected answer. And I opened my mouth, and nothing came out. Not because I didn't know what to say. But because I suddenly understood that any answer I gave would be a lie. I laughed it off, made a joke, changed the subject. Everyone moved on. But something inside me cracked. That night, I cried alone in a bathroom with the door locked, staring at my reflection like it belonged to a stranger. I remember thinking, if you disappeared tomorrow, how long would it take before anyone noticed the real you was gone? The answer was devastating. Probably never. The breaking point didn't come with violence or chaos. It came with clarity. A slow, merciless clarity that stripped away every excuse I had ever used. I saw my life exactly as it was, not as it was supposed to be. I saw how much of myself I had sacrificed for peace, and how little peace I had actually gained. I wasn't living. I was maintaining. And maintenance is endless. I started fantasizing about disappearance. Not death, that's different. This was about absence. About slipping out quietly. About no longer being available, no longer reachable, no longer defined by the expectations attached to my name. The idea scared me at first. Then it comforted me. Then it became necessary. I tested the idea in small ways. Saying no without explanation. Not answering messages immediately. Letting conversations end without rescuing them. Each small act felt like inhaling after years underwater. Still, the guilt was immense. I worried about what people would think. About who I would hurt. About being labeled selfish, unstable, dramatic. I worried about the version of myself I had carefully constructed and what would happen if it collapsed. I worried about ending up alone. What I didn't worry about and should have was what would happen if I stayed. Because staying was killing me quietly. The decision, when it finally came, felt less like a choice and more like surrender. Surrender to the truth I had been avoiding for years. I didn't announce it. I didn't plan a perfect exit. I simply began letting go. Of things. Of commitments. Of roles that required me to keep disappearing. One morning, I woke up and understood something with terrifying calm: if I didn't leave now, I never would. So I left. Not dramatically. Not heroically. I didn't burn bridges or seek revenge or demand understanding. I just stopped participating in a life that no longer recognized me. I moved. I changed my routines. I became unreachable to the people who only knew the version of me I had outgrown. The silence that followed was unbearable at first. There were days I questioned everything. Days I felt selfish. Days I missed the comfort of being known, even if that knowledge had been shallow. Days I wondered if I had made a mistake, if loneliness was the price of honesty. But slowly, something else emerged. Space. In that space, I started hearing my own thoughts again. Real ones, not rehearsed, not filtered, not shaped for approval. I began discovering what I liked when no one was watching, what I wanted when no one expected anything from me. The process was messy and humiliating and painfully slow. Rebuilding yourself after disappearing is not glamorous. There were moments of grief for the life I never lived. For the years I lost. For the person I might have been if I had been braver sooner. That grief still visits me sometimes, quietly, without warning. But there is also relief. Relief in knowing that the life I'm living now, however uncertain, is mine. Relief in choosing discomfort over emptiness. Relief in no longer betraying myself daily for the sake of peace. I don't know where this path leads. I don't have a clean ending or a perfect transformation to offer you. What I have is this truth: disappearing from a life that is killing you is not failure. It is survival. If you feel yourself fading, if you recognize that quiet numbness, that sense of being present but absent, please listen to it. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for disaster. Don't wait until regret is the only thing that knows your name. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is leave, not because you hate your life, but because you refuse to disappear inside it any longer.